Hi Stampin' friends! Today we're going to make this purple echinacea or purple coneflower card using the sunflower stamp set and dies, and I just thought this was a fun different set of colors to use with this design. It just makes it a different set of colors that you can use with your dies and stamp. So I'm using the Tasteful Textile 3D on crumb cake for the background. And so I ran that through. This is a 3D embossing folder. So I just used the blue plate to make that work out for me. And then I wanted to show you how I did this. I just ran this through. This is our Highland Heather, and I ran it through the Big Shot, and then I'm just using this little brush. It's just a little, what we have now is a little brush that comes on the end of the pick a pun, whatever tool, and so this it just goes on the end of that, and you can use it just the same way as this tool to get all those little pieces out. And because sometimes they don't, you can see right here, these didn't cut it through all the way. And then what I do is just take this and just dump it in my trash. Just dump it over, and then that makes it a lot easier to use and see what you're doing. You can usually push the ones that are maybe a little bit persnickety and just pull them like that to remove them from the back. And then if you like leaving these here, this piece, I would just leave this here. What I did was cut this with the Calypso Coral, and then I just took my scissors and cut off the little edges just to make the center into orange, because the ones I have growing in my garden actually kind of have an orange center in the purple flower. So I just thought that would be kind of pretty. And then, you know, we were lucky we have the, I think this terracotta orange looks okay with this. So that just gives us an option for an orange ribbon with this card. Doing that. And I'll just get rid of these pieces. All right, then I have those. Then I have this center that I've cut out of Early Espresso to put in the center there. Now, if you want to, you can punch out each one of these little dots in this. Using this, we'll get quite a few of them out to begin with. It'll save you some time. But then if you can't quite get them all, it's easy to use one of our our little punch tools, or something like that, something you can just punch the bottom, punch it through, and that will get all of those out, and that makes it a lot easier to use, rather than just trying to, I mean, I think this is a little bit tedious to just go through and poke each one of those, but you could also use a pointy scissor to poke through. So there's a lot of different things. You just have to try to choose the thing that you think is the easiest. So, and then once you've done that, and you still are going to need to use your fingernail or something to just kind of get the back off, get it completely loose from the back. So I'll just go ahead and get these other free because there's not very many left here. Easy peasy. All right. So put those aside and put this aside. I think we're finished with that for this card. All right, so then take my card base in Highland Heather and just fold it over here like that, nice and smooth. And then on the back of this, I am going to want to put my dimensionals. So I'll just grab some dimensionals and put it in all four corners. And then I'm going to want to put one in the middle. And once I get my ribbon on, I'll put some over the top of that to hold it down. So just kind of imagine, you can see here that I have used on this card, I'm about an inch up from the bottom. Is about where I put this, like right, well, actually from the bottom of the crumb cake layer. I have put my, from 3/4 to 1 inch up from the top. You can just eyeball that, of course. You don't have to be crazy about it. Oopsie. Oops, now that upside down. This is the new Stampin' seal. There we are. And I'm gonna see here if I like where I put that or if I'd like it up. I think I'd like it up a little higher. I like that. I think that's probably fine. And then I'm just going to put another dimensional over this to kind of hold it down, like that. And then remove these dimensional backings. Not exactly riveting to watch, but doesn't take too long. Oops. Okay. Then just do your best to try and get the layer, the layer here of the 5 1/4 by 4 lined up onto the card base as best you can. Scrunch it down. And then we're ready to, this is kind of a funny thing here, you want to lay this on top of it. And you can turn it around. I mean, you can see it's not super easy to get it exactly where it belongs, which I think is right here. It kind of takes a little bit of effort. So that's kind of a funny thing when you're doing this, to see. You can just kind of spin it and then it's just very obvious where it goes. But for me, spinning it makes it easier. So I'm just going to take this edge piece of dimensional here, just kind of tear that off. And then I'm going to put it on the back side of this. Now, if you have the pieces of the dimensional strips, those work great for this too. But I like to use these up because it just saves waste. So then line it kind of back up where we were. Get things back where they were. Gosh, I was sure that was all I did. Too funny. Okay, there we go. That's just a perfect match once you find it. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this Calypso coral piece, and like there I think I've got some kind of bumpy spots, so I'm just gonna kind of cut those off a little more. And then I'm going to use our Mono Multi glue. Just glue that right on there. And this, I kind of like to not worry about where it's supposed to be exactly. I just kind of want it to look a little kind of different, so that that way it shows the cuteness of that. All right, here is this. I'm gonna put 2 dimensionals under here, so that the center will come out. Earlier I said purple coneflower. It has a cone, like a cone, you know, convex instead of concave shape to the center of the flower, kind of even more so than a sunflower. So what I was trying to do is just make it kind of rise up, and you can scrunch the bottom edges a little bit to give it a little more, even a little more dimension and shape if you want. It's kind of up to you. Yeah, and you can kind of tuck these in as well, and that gives it more, I don't know if you can see that, but if you tuck in the edge down inside there, that'll give it an even more puffy kind of a look. Kind of there. So that, but that's up to you. You certainly don't have to do that. That's just the way that I thought that looked kind of cute, kind of tucked down in there like that. Okay, so then I am ready to plan my Granny Apple Green leaves. So I've used 3 of these on each one.
So I think it's easiest if you just get some glue dots and attach the base of the leaf to each top, just to kind of make it secure, because I like the way it looks when the edges kind of curl up just a little bit of the leaves and everything else. I like the free look of it. But if you don't, then you can certainly use some of this mono multi glue to glue it down. So, and then the other two here. There we are. And it doesn't matter that the glue dot is showing, because we're going to tuck that under the flower anyway, so that won't matter. Okay, so then once I've done that, I just kind of need to place where I want to put these guys and the direction that I want this flower to be going. Just kind of, you know, what you think looks like the top. That's what matters, because your eye is what matters. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm just going to imagine where I might want to place these, and then just go ahead and start sticking them down. And I'm just putting some mono multi on the bottom of each of these, like that. And then if you have a little bit going over the edge, you want to make sure that you don't put anything under that. Like you don't want to glue down the edge of the card over here to the edge of your cardstock base, because then it would lose a little bit of its dimension. Let's see here. I think I want this one right here. There we go. Then I'm just going to take this and cover the back with our mono multi glue neatly. And then put it what I feel like is the top, maybe right about there. And if it doesn't bug me, but if it bugs you that there's a little bit right here where the circle has come out of the blue, gosh, listen to me, of the Highland Heather, you can take a little piece and slide it in between here, and that will make that hole go away. Can you see there what I did? That hole. You can just kind of punch it with a hole punch or something like that, and just cut a small piece and stick it under there, and that will cover up where it looks like there's a hole. If that concerns you. If it doesn't, great. Okay, now we are down to just making our sentiment. If you remember that, it's the cherished friend. So we're using our punch here, and the way that I did this was using this side, which has the kind of a more decorative edging, and I just slid one end in, for example here, and punched. But one thing I noticed when you look at the back, you can get this kind of wonky without even meaning to. So what I started doing is actually setting it down like this on my surface, and I'll have to turn this. This is not how I do it, but I'll have to turn this so that you can see it, and getting this lined up exactly where I want it. Does that make sense? Because this way I can see what I'm doing when I put this in here, because it's hard for me to hold it completely straight. And then I just punch that out, and you can see what I've done here, and that's gotten it fairly straight on the punch. So then on the other end, let's see here, let me look around here on the back so that I can see it, because this is what I'm showing. You know, I'm looking at it the opposite direction, but this is what I suggest that you do at home, is to look at it and kind of barely hold it and then punch, because I think that makes a difference for it. Okay, so once you've done that, then we will get our soft suede ink and our stamp set that goes with this punch that says Cherished Friend. The stamp set is Lovely You. It has a lot of kind of cute little, you know, heartfelt and wildly grateful, kind of some cute little sentiments. And then line this up right along here. So let's see if I can do this the first time. I may not. It's hard to know what I'm gonna do. Okay, well, let's pretend I got that how I wanted it, because I think this might be a little bit narrow. Anyway, but if you want it to be exactly the same distance here as here, you can take the piece of trash that came out of your tag punch here and use it to mark exactly the same distance from the other side. And then all you need to do is take a pencil and draw a line here. Then take your scissors and cut it right there. And then put it in your punch. I do want to use the same one because that would be strange if I did one end one way and one the other. And then line it up how it looks nice as best we can. There we go. And then that will get it evenly spaced from each end. So I think that is going to be a tip that I'll probably show with each one of these cards, because that is a valuable tip to see, because it's kind of an unusual way of doing it, but of course everyone would want to do it that way because it makes it really easy to use that way. Because if you weren't doing that, you could spend a lot of time trying to get it just right and not quite getting it, I'm afraid. I could anyway. I shouldn't speak for others, but anyway. Okay, so then in order to stick this on here, all I need to do is get some glue dots and stick it down, or use maybe some dimensionals. And that will just pop those up neatly on here. All set. So then you can see the finished card. It's Cherished Friend, and has a nice simple little design, but you could make several of these, and they're really kind of a complete look, and you haven't spent an incredible amount of time at all. So anyway, I appreciate you all, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.